going to show you what happens when you don't pay. Ow. Hi everybody, it is Sunday, January 25th, 2026, and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. This is the Winter Sauce Podcast, and I don't even know what day it is, as I've probably been outside of my house for less than 24 hours this week. Due to the cold. Anyway, I am Cosmic Button Thule. You can find me at Winter Sauce Productions. Winter Sauce Productions is my spread shop, YouTube, Kyoto Roller Derby, Instagram, all these places, donations. And then the eBay store, we've expanded into selling books and also Blu-rays. And if anybody needs any of that, feel free to let me know and I'll look at what we can do to get it. However, it's a slow process, but thanks to the tariffs and stuff, and us having to lose some stuff with distributors, we are having to make some changes and make some expansions and some stuff, which is probably something we've been needing to do for a long time. So that's that. But feel free to go check all that out. And you can also follow me at substack.com. And this video, we're going to start putting these up on Substack as a backup hosting and see what happens. Should you have a smart TV, you can get the Substack app, and then you can play me on your televisions. Or if you're at, let's say, a gathering or are hosting a venue or something of black metal-related concerts and things, you could play these on a TV while everybody's doing their sound checks and waiting to warm up if you want to have a more enhanced, politically themed experience. Let's just go with that. If any of this resonates, however, we don't necessarily have the traditional political views. All right, now now we're going to start with Greenland. This is somebody has gotten a little artistically fixated on this and got emboldened to just say, well, we're going to come and take it. And I know that he went to Davos or whatever, and it was a negotiating tactic, but let's just follow the logic of this for just a brief moment and just explain what the fuck Greenland is, because most people don't even know. Okay? Every mining venture that has ever been attempted up there has ended in disaster. Companies from Canada, Austria, and a bunch of places have gotten contracts to go mine up there for all their earth minerals. It has ended in a financial disaster. There was a major ruby mine up there that went bankrupt in 2024. So the technology to mine all these resources does not necessarily exist yet, and that's where they're going to be dumping the robots to go and drill through the ice. So that's that. No human being wants to do that. It's just cold. If this were to become the 51st state, we would basically be buying some Euro globalist country that would always vote Democrat. Okay, just putting that out there. And there are plenty of other places that we can annex and be the 51st state where we might be able to, do something there and get some common sense there. But Greenland's basically a Euro globalist country in its own right that's just facilitated by Denmark, even though it's like way bigger. Nobody wants this. Just be a drain on resources. I think Denmark has to subsidize that place by like billions of dollars just so people can live up there. Nobody wants this. We don't need it. That's just dumb. Just putting that out there. Okay, now the main point of this video is we're going to be explaining the difference between F.A.F.O, fuck around and find out, and R.U.G.D.U, which is run up, get done up. I don't know why you can't find the F.A.F.O graphic with the snake and everything or anything like that in a wide format. So we got this alligator graphic, even though I'm not in Florida. I called my dad when it was cold. He's like, oh, I'm in Florida. It's like, good for you. And it's cold there, too. Okay. Now, Maduro. The arrest of Maduro. That is classic fuck around and find out. That guy had all kinds of opportunities to capitulate, surrender, step down, facilitate a transfer of power, stop being the cartel, and he didn't do nothing. He didn't listen. He mocked everybody. He told them to come and get him, basically, and so that he was going to be right there, and, well, we came and got him. Communist douchebag, absolutely no one cares. This is a CIA just spreading democracy everywhere. That country needs to just bend over and accept what happens, because that place, by the time we're done with it, they're going to be so poor, and we're going to take all that oil we don't even need, and that's that. Don't start nothing, you don't want none. It won't be as bad as Iraq when we leave there, where they reduce the age of consent to 9, as they're not going to import any Islam there. But that is, he fucked around. He found out that it's no longer called the Monroe Doctrine. It's the Donroe Doctrine. Nobody cares that this happened. That's that. Tyler Robinson, I spelled his name wrong, but whatever. Nobody cares about this guy. Assassinated Charlie Kirk. Was caught, likely fry, cut and dry. He went, did something, found out what happens when you do that. Candace Owens, anybody, that's all just disinfo. Like, you don't even need any sources or to be even involved in the right-wing media to know that. It's just disinfo, and apparently she's been now sent a cease and desist order, and her entire story is just being populated and recirculated by leftists and bots. Nobody cares that Bridget McCrone might be a man. Absolutely no one. That is an example of somebody being put in here, being propped up and put in place to come into information spaces and just pollute and put out disinfo. And people just get spellbound by all the technology and the myosobic fake reality and buy into all that. And there's people who are operatives, and that's their sole job, and that's what controlled opposition means. Because this whole world is just built on the fact that you don't have the ability to do critical thinking. People just sit in their boxes and everything, and that's that. Now, the other concept is run up and get done up. It's a pretty simple concept, just how the world works now. Like, there was some guy, I think it was Friday, when it was really, really fucking cold. I think the high was like -10. Wind chills were like -40. We could not work. Just sit at home and get caught up in my Steven Seagal movies. I mean, end of a gun. Just deep, meaningful incitement in all of that, in all of its plotless glory. Just poetry. And then I go look up the director and I realize that I have more Instagram followers than that guy. Run up, get done up. It's where if somebody goes and is just in something they're not supposed to be and runs up on somebody, they're going to get got. Pretty simple. Like I said, there was some guy in the middle of the fucking cold to go out, start my vehicles so that the batteries in them don't cook. Because that's what you have to do when it gets really, really fucking cold. And then I take a drive, go check my mail, go to the post office and drop off people's orders, even though I said we were closed, because I just can't stop working. And this guy is, when I leave, this guy has just been in his truck. I don't know how long he's been there. I don't know. None of my business. Could have been out there for hours. And so I leave. 30 minutes later, I come back. And the guy's still there. I go up to the guy. I'm like, hey, it's rather cold to be waiting around here. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm on the phone. I can move. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cold. You should do that where there's public parking. That's that. And then I just went back inside. I don't have any political motivations towards this guy. There's no malicious intent there. It's just not really seeing a reason you need to be specifically parked in front of my house on your phone. And then I look outside, 20 minutes later, he's still there. And then when I go to shut my my work vehicle off, I get my brass knuckles that I found on the side of the road walking one day, and put them in my pocket, and then wait. Gave the guy 30 minutes. See if he was still out there. Then something happened, I was prepared. And then if that guy hadn't left and I was still out there, I would have spoke to him again, and then I would have called the police. That's just how the world works now. Okay, that's just run up, get done up. You're doing something you're not supposed to. in some area, or you're impeding something, or you're just there agitating or just being a disturbance, someone's going to do something about it. That's what that concept is. It's a little different than somebody purposefully doing stupid stuff that they know something's going to happen to them and don't take whatever they're up against seriously, and then they find out what happens. Fuck around, find out is a little higher on the food chain than run up, get done up, which is basically a little basic. Okay, it's just a basic human response. Okay, and that brings me to the main point of this video. The Minnesota occupation, the Minnesota ICE occupation. Now, this backdrop here, this is a car that got completely encased in ice at an apartment building in Milwaukee that made the news because we had this giant cold snap here, broke all kinds of records, and like the first night in this building, the water main burst, and the city of Milwaukee had to go, everybody must leave this domicile immediately for life-threatening situations. There's no heat. And this building was a giant slumlord, and this car, I've seen other photos of it from the side. That car is basically encased in a giant block of ice. It's just some fun trivia there. So that there are landlords and stuff like that, which is a common, leftist talking point that everybody uses. But anyway, to summarize, it's cold up in this motherfucker. Okay, it's fucking cold. And even still, when the high is not even above 0, everyone is out doing all this shit, all their protests and everything. This whole thing is just a distraction from the Somali welfare fraud, being in the news cycle, exposing all the globalist money laundering operations that happen. They're finding, I think it's 100 billion. And that's just in one state. And then they're going to go into these other places and they're going to find it. And it's going to be even worse. And Tampon Tim Walz, that guy is just terrible. Let's just go into that with that. And they're talking after he is not going to run for another term, and they're talking about he has no, he will have to continue working. He has no backup, no monetary. He's not going to get on the public speaking circuit and make thousands of dollars for basically just flying into some college somewhere, taking a dump, and talking to a bunch of students that don't want to hear him speak. That guy, he is just terrible. Now, Renee Good, run up, got done up. Horrible situation that is a human being. Very, very, very tragic. Not to, demonize her or treat her as nothing. That's not what this is. It's horrible. What happened there is sad. And this is what, this tragedy is the reality of this. She was a white leftist agitator who and her wife moved up to Canada last year. Not liking the election results, and then they got further indoctrinated up there and all that crap, ideological crap, and then they moved back to Minnesota to be an activist in her kid's school. That's a rough summary. And because here's what happens. They get people, community organizers and stuff, and the right doesn't do this, and people need to start to just go in there and offer counter viewpoints. Rules for radicals. They just get these community organizers in there and go in there and indoctrinate all these people. You can get pamphlets or whatever, and then you look at the pamphlets and it's funded by the Open Society Foundation, George Soros. People do all of this to just slowly manipulate and control the narrative. This is the hidden hand in manipulating reality. This is the mind control. Not the actual content of the message, but just these people going in there and just trying to manipulate these groups of people. These currents of humanity. It's the same as all these influencers. Run up, get done up means you run up and you get shot, basically. You get got. Common concept among gangsters. She ran up on an ICE agent with their car, fucked around a little bit, found out what happens when you do that, and they basically redid a scene from the movie Sicario. She tried to do that, was not complying properly, I guess. I don't know. I was not there. I do not have enough information on that to make a decision. Don't care. But she ran up on an ICE agent with her car, somewhere she was not supposed to be, and got shot. The ICE agent she ran up on apparently was dragged behind a car at another previous stop in Texas. Likely had some PTSD and had to defend himself. Or he believed he had to defend himself. Not going to say what's right or wrong. I am sure this very similar to George Floyd. Probably in retrospect could have been handled a little differently. Everyone has their own videos, angles. Supposedly body cameras were turned off. And the media just spinning all this, makes figuring out what happened impossible. Which is why this is horrible. Because this is somebody who was in the prime of her life, family and shit, decided to just get involved in all this stuff, and now we're here. Same thing with this other guy, I guess his name's Pretty. Other guy, there was another Venezuelan guy who attacked some people with a shovel, and he is still alive. That was an illegal. That was somebody resisting. That kind of fizzled out pretty quickly. You notice that. Another white leftist agitator, who by the way was from Wisconsin, who is completely retarded. I have retards here, but he's completely retarded. This is a typo. Okay, because here he would know this. He should know this. Because this is Wisconsin. More likelihood you're going to be in some rural area. Basically, came up, tried to do some Antifa terrorist attack, did not have his ID with him, had a loaded gun, and was subdued. People still decided to riot in the freezing cold anyway, and I cannot believe that they're doing all this stuff now. I cannot believe the Somalis would want to live here in this type of weather. I cannot believe that Vance and Pam Bondi, who apparently was in Minnesota doing something, and all these people and all these paid protesters and all these other people decided to come up here and do all this in the freezing cold anyway, when the only thing anybody wants to do is hibernate and stay the fuck inside. I still, that is the one thing about this that I cannot understand this. Because I am of that if it's cold, I just stay home. That's what most people do. I don't have that kind of drive. Now, when ICE, or when any law enforcement or any agency, or let's say, any illegal people, not illegal aliens, but criminals, dealing drugs or something, or beating on somebody or something, most people go, well, I don't have any connection to this situation. I don't know who is involved in that. I don't want to risk my life for this. I'm just going to move along. Not be a witness to something. It's called the bystander effect. It's a thing in psychology where there was a woman. This is how this first got done with science, where they first discovered this, who was raped and attacked in her apartment or something, and then this gets out in the public, and then there's all these people that just watch. These random people, and then she dies. Rather than, somebody, just shut that shit down. Because that's what people do. I mean, if it's, morally right thing to, go say, hey, what's going on here? We should stop this. That's one thing. But this is the government conducting legitimate operations. Military operations. You stay away from that. You don't get involved in that. You just go the fuck away. You don't want anything to do with any of that. And now this is another guy, the stabbing of Jake Lang, which is also run up and get done up. And I'm covering this so I don't get nastygram emails from people who are on the mailing list, who presumably bought stuff, and then have the audacity to send me emails to an account we don't even check and don't even read, that go, and say, well, your podcast just regurgitates political opinions I hear on Facebook. You should stop. The whole point of the podcast is to just have a discussion about something and get people to listen to the music that we release and sell and to promote ourselves and to go out and generate income from my shop. Most of the political stuff, that's just one segment of the podcast, and it's an excuse to fill time, seeing as how I don't have enough background to just talk ad nauseum about black metal, and I would much rather talk about this, current events, or stuff I research. But anyway, stabbing of Jake Lang. Now, Jake Lang is a conservative influencer who ran into Minneapolis, as you can clearly see. He's got his bulletproof tactical gear on with a patch that says infidel on it, and his army surplus. Now, came in here and got stabbed. I don't necessarily believe he was fucking around. I think he legitimately thought he could come here and have some protest in the discourse. But, like, nobody showed up to this because it's fucking cold, and more people showed up to protest him than supporters. This guy's also running for Congress or something in Florida. He's some influencer, random conservative influencer, running for elected office in Florida. He was pardoned for J6. Now, activism like this is just dumb. This wasn't somebody doing something stupid, fucking around and finding out what happens when you do that. This is somebody who came in here. I mean, they're pretty fucking around, find out, and run up, get done up are pretty similar, overlapping concepts. But he went into a hornet's nest. Inner cities like Minneapolis and everything else are just fucking completely occupied by leftists. Why do you think I moved to Wisconsin? This guy has contributed nothing meaningful to the political discourse. Nobody will ever know who he is if he follows his current course of action. Because, yeah, you get in your little right-wing media infosphere and your little cloistered, occupied reality, fake thing, and you're all hooked up in that, and you're all jacked into that, and you're not doing anything. You have contributed nothing to the political discourse. You're just in an echo chamber regurgitating the same opinions that you hear from other sources or other people, and you're just going to put stuff out there. And then otherwise you get people like Nick Shirley who did something, exposed all the fraud in typical mimetic warfare style fashion, where it's just programmed into everybody, where everybody can make all kinds of memes and stuff they want that's exactly fitting to them. And yes, I actually went out in the cold and stood next to the Leering Center for this obviously real photo. This is not just some picture of me in Orlando that I poorly photoshopped. I don't even have that phone anymore that you can see in my glasses. I dropped it while I was there, and then I had to replace it with a shittier, cheaper one. I mean, don't get me wrong, fucking Galaxy, that's a good phone. I had that thing for years, even if it was like $700 and some fucking just trendy tracking device. Anybody can go do this. That is completely programmed. That kid, I mean, that's all he'll probably ever do. His journalistic career is set. He actually did something as like a proper influencer should and contributed to the political discourse. Anyway, back to Minnesota. Back to the Minnesota ice occupation. This is just another manufactured disaster that was allowed to foment to... It's just another artificially created problem, one after another, from society becoming too many moving parts. Because even in other leftist-controlled areas, not this bad. Came to Milwaukee, Madison... No issues, nothing on the news. This isn't them coming here doing a dead body, and this is just the pot boiling over. Because everybody wants to accelerate this to this point. Everybody wants to accelerate this so they can go and do their stupid riots, or go and signal that they support ICE, or whatever the fuck it is that they want to do, or they're programmed to do. Like, make all these podcasts. Even though I'm sitting at home, nothing to do, and the whole point of this is to promote music. Everybody wants this. I don't know why they want to do it when it's this fucking cold, but this is what everyone wants. Everyone wants to do all this and boiling up, but it needs to boil over, honestly, so that we fix this. Because, one, tampon Tim Walz is just terrible. I want to reiterate that, but all of this could have been avoided or handled differently, and none of these people should have been here. Okay? I'm not talking about the agitators. I mean, they shouldn't have been there, obviously. But, like, the Somalis, everything, if you go back to its source, the whole point of this is that we have a perpetually broken immigration system. The world is perpetually broken because you get these people, mostly of whom are white, trying to avoid the fact that humans are by nature tribal. With these concepts of open borders, and we shouldn't have nation states, all that stuff. Which is just an extension of tribalism, a more evolved form of it. And then you get these people in these third world countries like Somalia or everywhere else where they're perpetually bankrupt, set up to fail, ruined by religious institutions, and then they just come to other more developed places. They're allowed to come in here in a broken system where nothing works and everyone benefits but them. And the people at the top of that pyramid just take the damn money and move on. That's that. That's the end of the slideshow. I want to thank everybody for checking this out. The song that's going to play at the end of this is something from the demo Talmug, Genocide in the Desert. I did contact the band. That has almost sold out. We have like 9 of those left. We're getting down to the wire on that one, and we will be hopefully hearing some new material from them pretty soon. Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend.
You want rice meal? Die at my hand! All minds and worlds is surrounded. I will find a record! Where was it? Only one rain with road moves. Or infinity's rottenness. Or arteries bombers the positions. Or Venus are shrub. Or drops awaiting orders. Attack to destroy. Kill the roughs. Islam will perish. Oh no! The great empire will burn. There is no place for you in the empire. We are waiting to destroy Islam. We are waiting to change the world. We are waiting to form looking for the war? Kill them all. I will eat their flesh.